Well, sir, well, sir. So that's sort of my schedule where I kept it on my pocket the whole time I was out there. What day was that? That was Friday. Friday! You're not going to focus. All right, that's... I sort through, and that was Saturday. And they're on the back of my cards, so that my cards say, thank you for supporting inspired content. Share what you've created. Hello. Yeah, I made it back. I was wiped out, man. I'll tell you what, when I got back here, I was barely able to stand up. And when I got back here, the guy downstairs was doing construction on his wall. So I was in and out of consciousness for a few hours, and then had a good solid, what was it? I think I had like 2 stints of about a 45-minute to an hour nap. Did a few things, ate some real food, and then went down for about 4, woke up for about 3, slept for about 7 more hours, woke up for about 2, and then got another 4 hours in. And so that's sort of what I've been doing. I think I'm still slightly at a one day of sleep deprivation at that point, but kind of caught up on some of it. We shall see. I feel like I could probably go down for another nap again. But I also feel like I really ought to be sorting through some of these cards that I got and starting to reach out again. Because the cool thing about going to a con like this is you get some interaction and inspiration from people. And I had that downtime between the end of the con and when my flight took off, and I went through the entire schedule and going like, okay, so what topics would have liked to have seen, or how can I arrange these topics, or imagine a different plan for different panels and workshops. And I just built this massive list of all the things that I would think would be an interesting way to sort through the topics of what would be my ideal convention list, and if I could attend all of them. Now, I think it might be more fun to run them as a series of videos so that you can always have access to them, but run them almost like a panel too. So I got to figure out how, if I'm ever going to do that, how I might do that. Looking at some of these, trying to remember who they are here. Okay, so a lot of these people are from California. Clearly, the trip wasn't as big a deal for some of them as it was for me. Okay, so remember some of those. Oh, I'm going to contact this person. This is actually, their daughter couldn't make it to the convention, but he's handing out his daughter's card, so I'll get a hold of them. Okay, that's the father. This guy was interesting. He was one of those pretty aggressive marketing go-getters, and I still couldn't tell you what his content is. So that's the other thing I'm going to have to do, is go back and look up some of these people and see what they're doing. I kind of like this. This was Kathleen. No, she's I think she's into the beauty vlogging stuff, but that's fine. I'll check that out. Maybe she'll teach me how to do some makeup or something. I don't know. And then, but it's a handmade card. She got a bunch of like a decorative paper, and then she did a bunch of photocopying of her information down, and then hand glued them all together. So it's like a handmade card. I kind of like it. It's a little unusual, but I think that's what makes it interesting in my mind. Okay, so we've got, who is that? Oh, okay, that was comedy content and mukbangs. Oh, I ran into somebody one of the days after I came out of the convention. I was hanging out and talking with one of the people I'd caught up with at one point, and we were headed out, and some woman came up, and I can't even remember what she said. Oh, she asked us if we were creators, and she's all excited because she just started her YouTube page, and she's like on Instagram or something, and she does ASMR and mukbangs, and she was just blasted enthusiastic. It was just hilarious. So I'll have to look her up. I'll see if I can remember what that is. It's one of those things that's on my phone. Like people who didn't have cards, or I couldn't get them to write their own stuff on the back of one of my cards. I pulled out my phone and wrote down the names of some stuff onto a note file. And so there's this note file I have on my phone with like 30 different things to look up and talk to people about, and no particular order. So I'll have to figure that out. Yeah, I'll have to look up those channels too. I can remember some of these in person, but so much happened over such a short period of time that, I mean, I can kind of remember the order I received them in, and I can picture the face of the person I talked to. But oftentimes it happened in such loud places that all I remember is just sheer amounts of noise and the desperate attempt to try to communicate a single concept to somebody in front of you. Style science. Okay, so I'll have to look that up. I don't know what that's about. And this is the guy we ran into at the Hardee's, I think. Self-deprecating romantic pop rock. Yeah, I'll have to look into some of these now. And I still got a map of the metro system in LA that I had in my pocket, apparently. So that's going to be super useful to me in the next year. No, I'm not going to be in LA that often. Now, the vidIQ people, I don't think I had a lot of time to talk with them. I'm a little vague on what it is they offer, other than just analytics and assessments. And then I snagged one of these. These was one of those, I think it was the TubeBuddy people who had the corkboard that you could peg up your information, and people could take a picture if they wanted to collab with you. So this was, you fill it out. It's your channel name, channel focus, subscriber count, location, email address, and channel art. If you wanted to do that. Yeah. But I had I might get up here and go see if I can snag my bag full of goodies that I have a bunch of stuff tucked into. Let's pull that out of the way. Put that out of the way. What was that? That was vidcon, Small Creators Networking Session. And that was by the JRP Films guy, I think. That's a piece of garbage. That's my own address. I had it as a label on. I'm not saying that about anybody's card. I had that on my I had an envelope I kept some of my stuff in, and I didn't want anybody, if anybody found my envelope, to get my home address on it. So I ripped that off, and that's what that was. So right back. Hang on. All right. Pretty sure this is the rest of the things from the con. So this was Adobe affiliate program. I actually talked to somebody at the Adobe station they had there. And we were talking about, they said, like, you could win a camera kit if you used your smartphone to download an app and do such and such. And I'm like, have you seen my smartphone? My smartphone can't even handle, like, Instagram. So it certainly isn't up to the task of downloading your editing app and doing stuff with it. But talking with them a little bit more about what their stuff does, I thought it would be fun. Like they talk about how they have the like the Adobe Cloud or whatever it was, and some editing setup. And we got talking about sort of like an idea for a marketing thing that I was thinking about doing for them. That would be using my primitive phone, maybe even see if I can get an older one that doesn't even really work, and compiling some images or stuff that I can do into a playlist that I can then send to the cloud, and then borrow somebody's cell phone, like a video, like walk up to a stranger at a convention, either a media marketing convention or there's a group that meets in this area that's media makers. And it would be fun to do sort of like a gathering of makers and collaborate with each other on projects, and have the opportunity at an event like that to do a video where, okay, so here we are, we're working on a different project, but here's an idea. And so you use your primitive phone to get some photos or some very simple video, and then put it up on the cloud, go over and say to this person, let's see what we can do. I'll show you what I can do with the software right here, and give it a test run on somebody else's smartphone, and compile a video with a borrowed phone and your video, your Adobe Cloud identity. Now, of course, as soon as you do that, you're going to have to completely change your identity afterwards, unless you want to leave your account open to somebody. But, it definitely was a interesting idea. They were kind of curious about where I was going to go with that. Okay, so that's another person to look up. So yeah, I got these things all over the place. I literally just starting to get my life back on track after waking up, I think around 10 or 11 a.m. this morning, and cooking some real food, not living off of toast and muffins or hash browns or whatever while I'm here, and organizing and sorting stuff, doing some laundry, getting prepared for the rest of the week. That's my flight information. Solo. This was like a live streamer's travel kit. I'm not the use case for it, but I think as I get a little bit further into some of the other projects that I want to play with, I bet you I could find a way to use that for some interesting novel uses. That was the pack my vidcon stuff came in the mail, so that I didn't have to go stand in a line for half an hour to get in. So where is my big old piece of paper? Was that what that was? Is it on the back side of that? Yes, it is. Okay, there we go. This was the important one. This is my flight ticket, but on the back side, don't freak out on my camera. Don't freak out. I know you don't like I know you don't like the white balance crap. We should be better about that. But okay, so it's a big list of things that I was working on. So basically, I went through the community level of panels they offered. I went through the creator level, and then I went through the industry level. And I said, just based off of the titles of what they were talking about, and sometimes some of the descriptions, what kind of panel would I say that sounds like? What could I gain from a panel that sounds like it does that? And what is missing from this list? And so I ended up going up and building this list of things here. Now, I think these would be decent as a series of videos, maybe as a Skillshare class series, maybe as a YouTube series, maybe as a collaborative effort, a convention, or a series of online seminars. And so it's sort of like just building a list of all the different things. Like, so one of the areas, just one of these lines across here, is different social media platforms and how to optimize and use them for different types of online content creators, and forwarding a growth of those content creators. So it's like Twitch, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit. I think I had podcasts are listed as a separate category. And I also have things like means of generating income. So things like memberships, super chats, Patreons, merch, uh, uh, print on demand, Shopify, crowdfunding, affiliates, sponsorships. And so that's another line across here. Then there's skill sets like trying to, a series or a video or two on like special effects, color, audio recording, audio editing, lighting, camera settings. But there's also the personal skills. Like one of the things that strikes me is there's a lot of people out there talking about like the marketing skills and the editing skills and stuff like that. But I don't see a lot of things out there with sort of coaching and guidance for things like body language on camera or where to look. I'm looking at my screen right now, so I'm not looking right at the camera. How does that communicate in the long run? Like for something live like this that I'm doing sort of casually, I don't think it's as big a deal. But for some of the edited content, I do think it's important to have, a sort of a really breakdown, guide you through the process kind of approach for some of these. So where to look, your body language, how to handle comments and community building. Public speaking is just, if somebody did a series on public speaking, that would be, potentially very useful to a lot of makers or video makers. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is like how to start and found a business. Do you want to run it as an LLC or an S corp? And then accounting, contracts, insurance, retirement, taxes, knowing how to price or value your worth as to a sponsor or to commission work. Those would be important things to discuss. And it's like they would be good as panels at a convention, but they'd also be just as good as doing them as a video series. And then there are things like the networking groups that happen, and I think that one would be a little more interesting to see if there's a way to do them as online. So it's like they had BookTube, which frustratingly every year they do BookTube exactly when there's another panel I absolutely have to attend. So I don't get to talk with booktubers very much, but booktubers, educationists, artists, business, travel, health, LGBTQ plus, small YouTubers, DIY YouTubers, vloggers, comedy, cooking, reactors, gamers, reviewers, music, beauty, disability and illness, ASMR, cosplay, makers, top 10 lists, and challenge channels. I mean, that to me, that's a pretty substantial list. And I think I've only ever seen about I've seen about, what do they have? Okay, so they maybe had upwards of about 10 of them at VidCon. But there are some pretty clear gaps in some of that. And thinking of ways you could structure those differently, where it's not 130 people in a room screaming at each other to be heard over the rest of the room. I think there's got to be a better way to do that. But overall, like, we need more of that sort of gathering that people can work together and communicate and network with, because I mean that's the biggest walk away I get from these conventions most of the time. The panels are great, but I'm pretty sure most of the panels I can find a video that covers that topic. Like if you want to do a topic on how to record and edit and work with audio, I mean, I can find videos like that. I mean, it's great to see it in person and get the chance to ask somebody a question in person, but ultimately I can do a lot of things just by learning from some videos or some tutorials online, or even just taking like a Skillshare class. It's all fairly doable, but the things that you can't do so well in that sense are get sort of personal guidance and network with other creators. So I think in the long run, that networking is the biggest thing that YouTube or VidCon should be looking at forwarding further. Yeah, so I have a big list of things to look into. I'm going to see if I can compile these into a more organized list. It's part of what I've been doing today was going through my contact stuff and building a larger list of stuff that I could potentially just, if I were to sit down and go like, okay, which of these can I write down as a series of videos to do? And so building that series of videos or plans for a series of videos, I think would be easily a year's worth of content. And so that's sort of high on my priorities list. I also have been playing around with the idea of connecting with creators in the area and doing collabs and organizing some stuff like that. I would like to do a few like one-time or simple collab processes with a person or two every now and then. But I do want to see if I can get together a small group of cooperative, self-supporting channels that work as. I mean, you look at Vlog Brothers or Grace Helbig, Hannah Hart, and Mamrie Hart, and you see like they're not sharing. Well, the Vlog Brothers share their channel, but the Holy Trinity, as they call them, they don't share a channel, but they are deeply connected. They do a lot of collab and they do a lot of work together. And I feel like building something like that, where it's sort of like a keep in touch and talk with each other about all sorts of things all the time. I don't know how else to describe it. And I guess the only thing I can really say is I need to see if I can organize it. Just find a couple other people to organize something like that with, that we can work together and see what I can make happen on that score. And then, explain by example, show people what I mean we can do by doing it. Come on, I got stuff in pockets for days here. Okay, so that's my pass for VidCon. That's all the medicine I've got here for if I got a cold while I was traveling, which I don't think I'd had. I had a bit of a destroyed throat, but that's from speaking over everything. Those are leftover cards for one of my channels. I'll put those over here. And yeah, so sorting through that stuff. Oh, a Zoom account, which does a great job recording audio and vision for online meetings. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, like, I know to a certain degree that you can do classes through Skillshare, Udemy, and there are a couple others like that you can do stuff with. And I know there are a lot of people that do their own online seminars that you can sign up for, and it's like $180 per person for like a 16-hour seminar. And I'm like, I don't know how comfortable I am with that sort of profiteering off of that, but I feel like you might be able to do something with like Skype. But even if you don't do it that way, I feel like, is my computer freaking out? Yeah, it's freaking out a little bit. Okay. I feel like you could also just do the standard collab by email approach that you can sometimes see. Like I record part of a video and I send that video to you, and you record your responses, and then you record your own parts, and you send those on to the next part of the process. And eventually you can have several people sitting around talking about a topic in their own homes, months apart from each other, but you end up with a cohesive discussion back and forth between people and panel arrangement. And I think that's one of the benefits of doing something like this online, is it gives you the flexibility to work with people's schedules, and it's not as difficult to travel to make it happen. It's sort of like a work from home panel. Telecommute panel. And I think there's potential for that going forward. So that was tickets. I really gotta sort through all this stuff. So I think as I figure out more and more what I'm looking at with a lot of this stuff, I think I'll actually have something that's a little more fun and interesting to structure. So like you see the ability to do a response video to a friend. I feel like it's almost like pen pals would be fun to do. So like like when it's the reason I bring up Vlog Brothers. I don't know if I would want to do exactly the way they do it, but good morning, John. Good morning, Hank. And they start off their days that way, and then they come up with, topics they wanted to share with each other. And I feel like if I could find 2 or 3 other people who were interested in like a weekly corresponding pen pal communique where they share a thing that catches their attention, and we just do that publicly. We share it in a way that's publicly interesting to other people. Now, some of that, some of them might be scripted. Some of them, I think the way I was looking at potentially structuring something like that would be have a few different types of category of content. So some of it might be like topical news. Some of it might be a challenge to try. So if you're somebody who's a writer and we're coming up on National Novel Writing Month, like let us know what you're doing to prepare for National Novel Writing Month, and let's outline your book for the month as a video update that week or something like that. I spent the week plotting my book for National Novel Writing Month challenge, and some of it might be something along the lines of I tried to quit coffee for a week or a month even. And so being able to have those types of videos back and forth and correspond, as well as just some kind of talking about our lives and vlogging aspects of that, I think switching between topical news, challenges, where we're working on our projects, things that are currently going on in our lives, and just personally getting to know each other as a means of communication, you've got enough there that you can mix and match and make sets. You can do like a, sometime in the next 5 videos, here are 7 different video topics that, if you need a prompt to do it, and then go. And, each week you get, 1 video. And if there are, 3 or 4 of us who are doing these videos together, maybe you want to respond to or encourage or express enthusiasm for what one of the other posters posted, and then do a response and grow on the idea and share it and expand and collaborate and expand further. And I think something like that, it's a little more a selected group than what I wanted to do with this channel. When I started this channel, I wanted to do something where everybody who watches and participates has the opportunity to share what they're working on and learn from what I'm posting about. And as we share, we learn from each other. So I want that to be sort of like a possibility for this channel. But what I'm thinking about here is a little bit more of building I've heard some of the self-help gurus refer to them as build yourself a tribe, a loose group of 3 to 5 people that they don't necessarily have the same interests or skills, but they fill each other's needs to achieve goals together as a group. And I think that's sort of what I'm aiming for, a little less pop culture, pop sci, business marketing approach, and a little bit more of a creative, supportive community. But that's sort of where my brain is at right now. I'm gonna hop off here in a few minutes, I think, and then head on over to some other things and just start tracking down some of the contact information I got at the convention, and build a better template, because this is all handwritten at a Starbucks on paper, so that I didn't use my battery while I was doing it, and I need to organize it a little bit better for flow and function and shifting between topics, and plot it out maybe as to like what that would look like schedule wise. See where it fits in with my current channel listings of what I usually try to do. And I also have to get back to working on my videos, regular posts and updates. I want to see if I can do it by tomorrow. See if I can update the first of the new videos here, as well as the daily updates here. So 2 for this channel, and then I ideally want to start editing and uploading on the other channel again soon. And see if I can get into a rhythm where the decent clips, so that I can start to get ahead. But yeah, I'm taking the week after getting back to not do much of anything other than work on some of this stuff, so I don't get kind of buried with that and trying to handle the rest of my life. But yeah, today is the first day I really have started to get myself reoriented back here. I spent most of yesterday catching up on chunks of sleep and eating real food and non-expensive food. I'm like a $3 muffin. Are you kidding me? I made French toast this morning, and it probably cost me all of 23 cents. It was actually really good too. I haven't made French toast in, I want to say, a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. I was pretty young when I last made some French toast. But it's good to get some actual food in me. All right, I think I'm probably going to call it here for tonight. I'm going to turn the air conditioner back on. It's brutal. It's not as hot as it was out in LA, but it is certainly humid here. It's sort of like the whole building I'm in sort of feels like, you know, when you're in the bathroom after somebody's just had a shower. That's how the air feels here right now. I hate it. I don't like it at all. But all right, so I will be back tomorrow night with some sense of what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I know I had a schedule that I was working from before, but I know I'm a little off. So this week may actually end up having a fair amount of compacted and crunched together catch-up work, because starting next week is the end of my carbohydrate-focused diet experiment and the start of 4 weeks of cardio-focused exercise experiment. So I've done end of next week, by the 28th, I will have done 4 weeks of carbohydrate dominant diet, which I'll talk about more about there. I have some distinct feelings about my experience with that so far. And we'll also be starting up the first week of 4 weeks where I do a set amount per day of cardiovascular focused exercise routines. And then when that's done, I'll have a week, I think 1 or 2 weeks off, maybe even 3 weeks off, where I go back to my base diet and my base fitness routine before shifting over to I believe I was looking at doing a keto-based diet for 4 weeks. And same caloric intake count as what I'm doing for the carbohydrate one. And I do that for 4 weeks. And the last of the 4 weeks is the first of a 4-week stint of, I believe that one was supposed to be, yeah, I think that one was supposed to be a weight training or weight based exercise routine, and then after that one, there's a break, and then where I go back to my base fitness and my base diet, and then I do 4 weeks at high protein diet, and then the end of that, I start I guess we call it power training. So the big difference between the strength training and the power training is the strength training is the long, slow push and pull muscles, the slow twitch fibers, and the power training is more about explosive force exercises. And so I've been kind of playing around with trying to figure out the best way to do those, and I think that's how they line up best for the rest of the year. So I'll hit those at the end of the year. But I'm finishing up the 4 weeks of carb diet soon and starting the 4 weeks of cardio-based exercise. And that is set up at a very particular time this month. I also have set it up so that my regular edited content, I will be doing a fitness aspect of that as well, where it's my exploration of the Spider-Man inspired fitness routine. That one's going to be kind of fun. I also want to see if I can get a hold of the Teespring people who do the print-on-demand clothing stuff, because I want to see if I can get a sweatshirt printed by them for some of that. It's sort of a joke and some fun stuff that I want to add to the topic, but I don't imagine I'll be able to get it done in time, but maybe in the future. We'll get there. And then I've already started to have ideas about yoga and flexibility training and a couple of other dietary explorations to see what kind of stuff I could do with that. But those are all kind of based off of the weekly project videos I do here, which I do live. I still have to do my 8 edited videos here a week, or a month, not a week. That'd be horrifying. 8 edited video topics per month. I've begun splitting them in half between the trial, rate, and review, and then the creative prompts inspired by. So it's like read a book, rate it, review it, and then in a subsequent video, do 6 creative prompts you can use that are inspired by that work. And I do it for books, movies, games, products, services, art, music, video games, and there's a health and fitness category for that one too. And so there are 8 of those videos per month, 2 per week, roughly. And I need to get back in the swing of doing those while I'm doing these weekly project live videos at the end of the day. And then my other channel, I need to get back into trying to do the 5 per week Makerspace tour and interview series. And then I want to see if I can do a 1 or 2 video per weekend tinkering project of my own, because I need to get back into doing that. It can't just be me editing videos about other people tinkering for a year. I need to do my own tinkering, and I've already started doing some recording on that score in the past that I can start pulling together for that. And so that's sort of like the big workload. I've got to see if I can do enough of it that I can get myself into a routine and a pattern of doing it regularly, because I need to establish that pattern for when I go back to pulling my seasonal work, so I can earn the paychecks that make this all possible. Doing the paycheck work, that's going to take 8 hours out of every day. So if I can get myself into a pattern of 8 hours a day of work, an hour a day of exercise and fitness training, and then give myself about 4 hours a day of recording, editing, and posting videos, I think there's enough time in the day to pull that off. that I think I can probably do that pretty well. I just need to start getting a sense of how to chunk my time right to make that work. So there is that. Seriously, this time though, I need to get going and get working on some of this stuff so that I have a little more examples to work with tomorrow and the chance to start getting edited content back up. All right, thanks for joining me. I will touch base again tomorrow. I'm aiming for around I think 10:30 was when I mostly have been doing this lately. So I will aim back for 10:30 East Coast time tomorrow night. And take care and have a good night. All righty. Yeah, I will. Do, 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 do.